Hello, welcome to Chapter 3 Podcast, the show for readers of science fiction, fantasy, and romance. This is season 3, episode 20, and we are here to sort of finish out our Witcher read-along, at least the reading part of it, to talk about Season of Storms by Andrzej Sapkowski. And this is a prequel. I think it'll be interesting to talk about, and then I think what we're going to do is for our late November episode, the next one Leanna's back on, we are going to talk about season 3 of the show and do a review because I liked the first 2 seasons, which Leanna was not a fan of, but the third season was not my favorite. I just finished it, so we're going to discuss that.
It would be very funny if I suddenly liked it after hating the first 2.
I would be shocked.
Stranger things have happened.
Sure, I guess. You never know. But tonight we're going to talk about Season of Storms, which fits like somewhere in that short story section.
I believe it takes place in like not before the last wish and not after the last wish. It takes place like in the middle of the last wish.
Yeah. I mean that sounds right. I didn't realize until after I read it and reviewed it, but I guess I have an unpopular opinion about this book. I really liked it. It's one of my favorites of the series.
Well, tell us why it's brilliant.
I don't know that I would call it brilliant, but I thought it was really fun. It's like a side quest, sort of.
Have you read Theft of Swords?
No.
By what's his name? Michael J. Sullivan.
No, I haven't.
The story's not like it, but I just feel like the title Theft of Swords is better for this book than it is for the book Theft of Swords by there is a Theft of Swords that is like an inciting incident in Theft of Swords.
Yeah.
But I just like this book could equally, at least, possibly more so, be called Theft of Swords.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that would make more sense. I mean, that's basically what it is. It's a side quest in novel form of Geralt going and trying to get back swords that were taken from him and his misadventures. And I had fun with it. I found it really entertaining.
Yeah, I would say that I did too. But I just feel like my expectations for the Witcher series are that it does more than that. And I feel like every other book, even my least favorites, the Tower of Smalls and Lady of the Lake, did more. Even if I didn't think the reading experience was like necessarily always the most enjoyable. So I just expect Andrzej Sapkowski to kind of like do more. And I felt like at the end of, I don't know if we're doing spoilers yet, but I'll keep this spoiler free. At the end of Season of Storms, it almost felt like it occurred to Andrzej Sapkowski that he hadn't done anything, and he shoehorned in maybe this is a meta point about what this whole thing has been. And I was like, no, just no.
Yeah, there's kind of like a let's tie this back into the series, which was fine. I guess I didn't mind it. Which it's funny, right? Because I think there are probably a lot of people who would also say that the reading experience of some of the other books isn't the best, but then this is fun to read, but still not what they liked, I guess. I don't know.
Well, I think because I think that this series for me kind of like peaks in the first few books, like Last Wish, Sword of Destiny, Blood of Elves, Time of Contempt. Because those books are like doing a better job, in my opinion, of doing both having fun and doing something more, both in terms of like progressing a larger story and in terms of commenting on things like more metatextually. Like there's just more going on with them. So it's like, it's amusing, it's engaging, it's heartfelt, it's thought-provoking, it's getting you sucked into a grander story. It's doing all of those things. And the later books, they get like caught up in their own kind of like things. So then like enjoyment kind of goes down, but I still appreciate it on some kind of like on an intellectual academic level, even if I'm not always having fun. And then Season of Storms, I guess maybe then to balance the scales, if like some of the books went too far. Yeah, exactly. That we went too far in the academic direction. And then he was like, what if to make up for it, I went the other way and stripped it of all meaning and just had a fun side quest? And it's like, I guess that's fair.
Why not? Yeah. So I found it interesting how many people though really disliked it, and
I didn't really dislike it. I just was like, it was mid.
No, and I'm not saying that I thought you did, but I was looking at the Goodreads reviews, and there are so many negative reviews of this. It's very
What was like did they call out anything particular that they like hated about what this book did or didn't do?
I don't know. It wasn't particularly clear. A lot of them were just sort of like, this was so disappointing. I was so bored. I didn't like it. I'm like, okay, well, okay. I mean, I wasn't bored. I thought it was entertaining. So,
I was a little bored, but I guess again, it was because I expected more. Like, and not
yeah.
necessarily, I don't know, I feel like it's a loaded way of describing what I expected. Because like I don't expect every book to be incredible, but I'm just accustomed to Andrzej Sapkowski making grander points and doing bigger things, even with The
Yeah.
Last Wish.
Yeah.
And so like because I kind of went in trying to expect something that's more akin to The Last Wish or to The Sword of Destiny. And even
Mhm.
then, like it didn't even meet like that level of like doing something a little bit more than just telling a fun story. And so in
Mhm.
that sense, I was like, well, like it's amusing and I okay, but like, is that it?
Yeah, which I mean, and to be fair, I am also somebody who enjoys cozy fantasy that doesn't necessarily need a lot more depth, which is not your deal.
Well,
So,
it's not my deal, but it's also it doesn't seem like it has historically been Andrzej Sapkowski's deal. So
maybe he
it's
just,
twofold,
maybe he just needed to write something fun.
maybe.
I
But
bet
it's
this
like
was fun to
twofold, though, like
write.
something that I don't necessarily go for, and then my expectations specifically
Right,
here were different.
right.
But go ahead.
My guess is he just needed to wanted to write something fun, and I bet he had a good time with it. Like, did you catch some of the little references he dropped in this book?
Yeah, and like the end, that's what I was alluding to earlier. I'll still try
Mhm.
to be spoiler free, like the way that at the end it kind of tries to be like, oh, I'm still like making a point. It seemed to me that the point was that like, well, just because I finished the series doesn't mean I can't still tell Witcher stories. Like
Right,
that's the point. And I'm
right.
just like, I mean, okay, yeah. No one said you couldn't. I don't know if we needed that.
Go ahead. Um, yeah. I mean, it was there was
I almost wanted to like at the end of the book to like reference Hades down and be like, but we're gonna sing it again.
I mean, that's basically what it is, right? The tale never ends. I mean, that is kind of the end of the book, basically. Which, I mean, I think works for the way he ended the series. But this to me, that like that piece of it, yes, maybe it was tacked on, but for me, it made the way he chose to end the series feel a little bit more satisfying and a little less kind of like, okay, that's where that's where we're ending. There was a moment in this that I thought was really funny where he like the Witcher is trying to like figure out a password, and the password is like saying friend in the Elvish tongue, like in Lord of the
How unoriginal, how derivative.
I thought it was
But
kind
that
of
does remind me of a meme I saw recently that was like that scene of Gandalf doing that, and then the door saying, like you've exceeded like your limit of attempts, you have to like reset your password. And then he says says the password, it's like it can't be the same password that you had before.
that's funny. Yeah. Well, I mean, if he was gonna go for all the Arthurian references, why not do a Lord of the Rings reference while you're at it?
One is mythology and one is like an actual present day author's work. That's the difference. But I mean, Lord of the Rings itself is referencing the Arthur story,
Right. Yeah. It was funny.
referencing the
Uh,
references now.
right. One thing that I did wonder a little bit with this book eh, was whether the video games were out yet or were in development yet.
Oh, I'm certain they were.
Okay. Because that's one thing about this is this reads like, well, like I said, like a like a video game side quest or a DLC that you get to add on to something. Um, so I do almost wonder if maybe that could have been part of it. I'm curious if, I mean, I almost wonder if I haven't played the game, so I don't know, but I'm kind of curious whether the Witcher video games maybe even have some kind of a related DLC storyline with him losing his swords and getting them back or something.
I don't know about that, but I wonder if he was pressured to write another Witcher book because of the success of the games and how much he actually wanted to write this. I have no idea. Maybe he felt desperately called to write this, but I could
Yeah.
see them being like, "Hey, Witcher's really popular because of the video games," or maybe he specifically was called to write it because he wanted to be like, "Hey guys, these video games are based on books. Bam, here's a new book. Pay attention. This is a book series."
Right. Yeah. Well, one of the moments that made me wonder about it is there's a thing where you have Dandelion writing about Geralt, and he writes him as being without emotion, and that's like kind of specifically called out as like him writing Geralt in this way that's like less full of emotion than who he actually was, which is also interesting because the video games play him as, more stoic than he is in the books, and then the show takes that to an even farther extreme. So I also wondered if that
The
was like,
show simply has Henry Cavill in it, who can't act his way out of a
well,
paper
I
bag.
mean, there is that, but it did make me wonder if the video games were out, if part of this was like commenting on the like meta-ness of how, which he's done in previous books too, of how like stories are told in ways that are not necessarily true to life, and
Yeah,
that
but
like,
I'm fairly certain that I've heard that Andrzej Sapkowski is annoyed at like people knowing about the games more than the books. Which, like, I mean, fair
I mean,
enough.
fair,
Like,
fair. I heard he's writing another one.
another Witcher book.
Yep.
Why not? I'm sure. I mean, I've heard nothing but like kind of terrible things about his historical fiction
That's
books.
same.
So I can't be. I'm not surprised if he's like going back to the successful formula.
I mean, it's fair. Yeah. But yeah, no, I found this to be very entertaining. It was silly. There was a lot of like kind of silly stuff, but it was
But
funny.
again, like every other book, you could like identify why it was called what it was called. This one, it did technically reference the phrase "Season of Storms," like they all do. But
Yeah.
like it didn't seem like a thesis for this book. Like again, Theft of Swords would be a better name for it.
Maybe the storm was Geralt losing his swords.
No. No.
Oh my gosh. We do have like, I mean, and I guess maybe this is getting a little bit more into spoiler territory, but I will say that that the part at the end isn't just at the end. We do have a couple of interludes that kind of carry through this idea of Nimue in the future now being in their world on her way to Aretusa. Um, and so it is, that is woven through where it's,
That is shoehorned in throughout, correct. But so there's like different reading orders that people suggest, and so some do suggest reading this in chronological order, so reading this, I guess, pausing in the middle of Last Wish to read this. But no, I think people suggest reading it like between Last Wish and Sword of Destiny,
mm,
so that it's where it takes place timeline wise. But I feel like I'm already a little bit annoyed with the inclusion of the Nimue stuff because it does feel shoehorned in, but I
yeah,
truly would be baffled. And it is like kind of spoilery for the end of the entire series.
it
Having
is.
that. So like any
I
reading
don't know
order that
why. I
suggests
don't know
reading
why
this
you would read
before
this. Yeah, I would not suggest that. I do think you need to read it after the end of the series. Otherwise, you're spoiling yourself for.
if not spoiling yourself, at the very least, it's just like confusing.
Right.
More
'Cause you're
so
like,
than the series.
why is this character showing? Yeah, because it doesn't make sense. Yeah. I don't know. I think it makes the most, to me, it makes the most sense to just go ahead and read it at the end.
Which I mean, I feel like 99% of the time, I would say publication order is the way to go for like anything The only time I would probably say no is if like the author is like, I had originally wanted to write this book first, but the publisher wouldn't let me. They would only let me do this one first. And then I went back and published the one that I wanted to originally, which is now a prequel. If like, but I can't even think of a single time when that happened. But if it did, then I'd be like, okay, well then read it in the order that the author intended, even if the publisher hadn't originally allowed it. But
Yeah. I mean, it depends on the situation for me, but I think when this one, I would probably suggest publication order. I mean, you could read it in between, but yeah, I don't know. It is a big tonal shift though from the end. But for me a pleasant one because I didn't like the last book was probably my least favorite.
I mean, it was nice to see Geralt again for more than
Yeah.
2 seconds.
Mhm. Yeah, and see Geralt being Geralt and Dandelion being Dandelion and, you know, hijinks, and Yen saving the day behind the scenes.
It was weird having a Cirilla-less book.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think she's mentioned briefly, but yeah, she's not really in this.
I mean, she's not in The Last Wish, but like Pavetta and like
Mhm.
the origin of Ciri is in The Last Wish.
Yeah. Yeah, but not this. It's really not. Which, I mean, could also be because what is the timeline really? If Nimue is there, is this, what's really happening? Where
Did any of
is
this really
Ciri?
happen, or was it all a
Was it
dream?
all a dream?
Even better.
Who knows, really? Who knows? Um, yeah, there was some more stuff in here though, carrying on from and this also is carrying on from the last book, so also things wouldn't make sense. But like Geralt killing the these like hybrid, well, no, I guess that's not. But Geralt like had been killing those hybrid monsters, so again, we're dealing with like experimentation and eugenics and hybridization and stuff. Um
I mean, I felt like anytime this book got to be having any kind of like a moral conundrum or moralistic debate or anything like that, it was always like just retreading old ground that had been done better in another Witcher book. It was always like the same old, like, well, who is really a monster and who should a Witcher
mhm.
actually be killing? And it's like, you already talked about this and you did it way better in the other books. So it's like, okay, this
Yeah,
old song again.
yeah. I mean, that's fair. I think reading this, I was just like, "Oh, this is just fun." So I just read it as kind of like for entertainment value, and for that, I think it's pretty good. Geralt has to perform in his underwear.
It's so weird to me though that like um more broadly, like you said earlier, like that you like cozy fantasy and I don't, that you don't mind a story that's just like a little side quest or whatever,
Yeah.
and that I'm the one that doesn't like that. But you don't like The Mandalorian, and everyone else does. And that's what The Mandalorian is. It's just this cozy
Yeah,
little
but
side quest.
it's because there's no continuity. Like there's no characters. I like I if there were more, I think I probably would like it better if there were even another one or two characters who interacted in a way that was meaningful and did interesting things where that they had a macro arc.
You
But
didn't watch enough of it to find out that that does actually happen a little bit.
I watched the first season
I mean, there's
mostly.
people that come back in the second season and also that are in more than one episode of the first
Yeah,
season.
so maybe eventually, but the first season I thought was really boring. And that's why, is because I was like, this is just like random stuff happening, but I'm not invested because I'm not invested in the characters.
It's just
Like I like cozy fantasy. Like it doesn't have to have high stakes, but I have to be enjoying the characters and the setting, you
how
know?
can you not enjoy Grogu?
He didn't do anything. I mean, it was fine. Also, he was a terrible father. Like he just did stuff that I was like, "What? You don't do that with
I
a
mean, he's
baby."
doing his best. He didn't really sign up for the gig of being a father.
He did not. So I understand it. But like that's the thing
It's
that
like the
everybody,
of Paramorin not doing the best job with Ciri.
I mean, yeah, I guess. I just think it's like before I had seen it, that was what everybody talked about was like, "Oh, like him being in a father role, and I was expecting like, oh, this is gonna be like this great, and I was like, oh,
It's actually a lot like Geralt in Ciri, where he's like not actually very good at it, but he's
yeah,
kind
but
of
at
been
least
thrust
Siri
into
is
it.
like is old enough to be a person who's interesting, and so it's entertaining. Whereas like,
Grogu is like 50 years old, so
yeah,
age
but
is not the issue.
I mean, I don't know. It didn't work for me. It was not my vibe. But I did like this. This was fun. um, Also, speaking of Star Wars, I have my like Christmas sweater of the year. You walking around the Christmas tree. That was cute. Like looking at the notes that I took for this book, there's definitely not as much to talk about
Because
as
this book didn't do anything.
yeah, well, and it's also the most straightforward narrative and has shorter chapters. I was like, wow, like structurally this is really different from what I expect.
I
Uh
almost feel like Season of Storms is like the book that if people had played the video games and thought they'd want to try the books, this is the book that they would expect.
yes,
But if people have been reading the Witcher books and then read this book, this is not the book they would expect.
it's true. Bree is saying chill out Christmas. Listen, it's November. So, but I'm wearing a fall headband. So
Ma'am, it's not Thanksgiving yet.
I'm easing my I don't care. I'm easing my way in. I'm ready for it. It's been it's been a long year. So,
Yes, agreed.
once
It's gross.
November starts. Also, I just got the sweater and I was like, I want to wear this. So I'm going to. Plus, it has orange. So I'm like, it's, vaguely Halloweenish and fallish.
Yeah, the top of it, I mean, you can kind of tell it's Christmassy, like
I
pine
mean, it's
trees,
Christmas.
but
I mean,
like,
it is, yeah, like it is Christmassy, but
but I was gonna say like this part, like just seeing this part of it doesn't necessarily scream Christmas.
right. Exactly. I think it's fine. Yeah, but my dad was always like that. He'd be like, no Christmas music until December 1st. And I'm like, forget that.
I mean, I'm fine with it the day after Thanksgiving, which is not December 1st, but
Usually we used to not put up our Christmas tree until after Thanksgiving. And then last year, my youngest kid was like demanding over and over and over again to put it up. And so finally I was like, you know what? Okay. So we did like a couple weeks into November. And I was actually like, this is great because my life is so crazy in December. It was so nice to have it up and not have to think about it and just enjoy it. It was good. I think I will do that again.
this is upsetting. I can't hear any more of this.
It's like I have enough to do in December without like
I'm still in mourning over Halloween being over, and you're ready to put up a Christmas tree?
I'm ready.
I was
I'm
so
ready.
mad when I was at Disneyland on Halloween.
Mhm.
On Halloween. And they had already put icicles on the castle. On Halloween. Guys, you couldn't wait one day?
I mean, they should at least wait till November 1st, but Christmas is it is my favorite time of year and yes, sure, give me 2 months of it. I love it. Went to buy a Thanksgiving door wreath at Walmart today and they were out of fall ones and only had Christmas ones. Yes. If you want a Thanksgiving wreath, you need to get them in,
July.
August, no, September, October. I mean, like September, October, really. So,
It's awful. I hate it.
I know people have very strong feelings about this, but I am pro more Christmas.
1 month is enough.
Yeah. Which is also probably why I liked Season of Storms.
See, what I like is that my Halloween decor is like half fall and half spooky. And
Mhm.
so then as I transition out of Halloween into November, all that happens is that half of it comes away, the spooky half comes away, and I just leave the fall part of it. And then finally we put up some tinsel in December and put the pumpkins away.
See, whereas like I would like start transitioning, like I haven't done any of it yet. Like I still have my Halloweenish stuff up, but I'll probably take away the spooky stuff, have the fall, and start transitioning in some of the holiday stuff, and so that by December we're ready to roll. See, Halloween season starts in August. So just enjoy Halloween for longer, enjoy Christmas for longer.
I
Just
don't want to celebrate Halloween in August.
like we are living in a late stage capitalist dystopian nightmare of a world right now. Let us have some joy.
But this doesn't bring me joy.
It brings me joy.
All right, then I'll allow it for you.
Uh,
I know. I went to Starbucks today because I was afraid that because Halloween's over, that like all the fall drinks would be gone and it would be only Christmas drinks. But they still have fall drinks, which I was delighted about. So I went to get my apple coffee and was horrified that it came in like a red and green striped cup.
Oh, see, now I'm like, oh, I need to go to Starbucks so I can get holiday cups.
So upsetting. I'm also sad that they don't do fall themed cups. They only do Christmas ones.
Yeah, I mean, they are kind of pricey,
I would love some pumpkin or fall leaf cups in the
fall. I would be down for that too. I think that would be cute. So the one other thing about the book that is really important is that Coral, who Geralt has this affair with in this book, we know what she smells like because women sense her.
Do you know how many ads I've been getting on my Instagram for this perfume that is lilac and gooseberry scented?
Have you really?
And it opens with like the scent that makes Geralt go crazy. And
that's hilarious.
And I'm just like, oh, the scent that makes me go crazy when I read the Witcher
lilac
books.
And gooseberry. Well, maybe soon they'll come out with the companion scent for Coral, which is, for anybody who missed it, irises, bergamot, and roses.
That does sound like it smells like something, unlike gooseberries, but
I mean that's true. But but you know,
like when you
Geralt, it just
those notes to me, like
compare.
I'm like, oh, I know what those things smell like, and I can imagine a scent like that. But lilac and gooseberry, I'm like, well, I know what lilacs smell like, so lilac.
I feel like we need to acquire some gooseberries and see if they
just acquire that perfume and be like, all right, is there going to be anything besides lilac in here?
Is that a tax write-off if we like do it for an episode?
Do a whole hour-long episode of just like smell sampling the lilac and gooseberry
perfume.
Oh, wow. Just get woozy from the fumes.
I want to know what it smells like. I didn't know they had this.
Well, you two can smell like Yennefer. See if your husband likes it. See if he also says the things that
lilac and gooseberries. That is the thing.
Apparently.
I guess so. That's really funny. Yeah, I don't know. There was just like a lot of stuff that happened in the book that was just kind of fun or interesting. Oh yeah, there was the whole thing about the princes who betrayed their father and then the magical wedding necklace during the wedding and whatever. And then there's this giant storm. And it reminded me, like, wasn't it a whole thing that in one of the places mentioned in previous books, and I can't remember if it's where Ciri was from or if it was someplace else, when a king dies, there's a storm?
I don't think it's like when any king dies. I think it was specifically with like Cirilla's line.
Okay. So then I don't know what was going on with the storm. Was it because a son murdered his dad who was a king? Is that why there was like a sudden freak storm?
Because that's the name of the book and we had to make that make sense.
I guess so.
Because it wasn't otherwise relevant. I mean, like I think the function of the storm is less to do with like it being caused by like regicide and more like what it does in terms of like bringing out the true natures of the people in a disaster. And like in a ye olde setting, you're not going to have like a bombing. You're going to have a storm.
Right. But this was like a freak storm where it came out of nowhere and then left out of nowhere.
I mean, there's a lot of magical things that come out of nowhere.
It's true, but we don't really get an explanation for it. So I was just wondering, okay, what's the driving factor of this weird magical storm?
It's 'tis the season.
'Tis the season.
Tis
Well,
the damn season. I know Swift things.
see, Andrzej Sapkowski is also pro-Christmas.
Or he's pro Taylor Swift.
Or he's pro-Taylor Swift. Little known Swiftie.
Or Taylor Swift actually. There's people are always like talking about the literary references in her songs.
Mm-hmm.
Little known fact, just It's the Damn Season is actually about Season of Storms.
It makes so much more sense.
In this essay, I will.
And then we find out that, Taylor Swift was secretly dating a cast member from Witcher.
I thought you were going to say she was secretly dating Andrzej Sapkowski.
Oh god. That would be something.
You know. A meeting of souls.
A meeting of, I guess so. They were both very successful artists.
Back to hating Christmas. I just have to say, like, I was trying to figure this out the other day because, like, I really don't like 99% of like the really like cutesy and really like what's the word I'm looking for? Not campy, but like the home to kitsch. Kitschy, is that what is that the word? I don't know. But like that kind of stuff, like for Christmas, like it really annoys me. Like really bright red, glittery tinsel, like all that kind of thing. I hate it. But I don't mind that stuff for Halloween. I like a lot of it. I mean, not everything, but like I don't mind like really garish, like silly looking Halloween things. And I don't really know why that is, but
maybe because you like orange.
I mean, I hate purple generally speaking, but I'm okay with a lot of purple and during Halloween when it's like a part of a spooky like decor thing. So, I don't know, man.
I think it's just your season.
Cuz like I don't mind so much Christmas stuff if it's like the really kind of like winter solstice kind of like earthy, it's just like pine boughs, berries, Yule logs, you can smell mulled wine, stuff like that. But if it's like no, not that. But if it's like, yeah, like the red and white striped everything bright shiny, oh no.
I mean, I feel like that tracks. Honestly, I would probably be surprised knowing you if you were a big fan of bright shiny Christmas things.
I like bright shiny Halloween.
Yeah, but it's, dark and spooky. It fits.
I guess it's because maybe I associate Halloween with camp. Like the holiday itself is like a holiday that's about campiness.
Yeah.
And Christmas can be campy for some people, but the holiday itself isn't like about camp.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I mean, that's true.
Anyway, okay. And,
it's interesting.
Back to
we have a commenter saying because Halloween is the superior season and everything is awesome. Listen, I like Halloween. I just even more so love Christmas. So, but you know what? Halloween for me is like an excellent prelude to my favorite time of year. So it works out.
It's like just after Halloween ends, it's just all over. And we gotta suffer
everything goes downhill in January for me. I'm like, it's great until
and also like in terms of like going to stores, I would so much rather nonstop hear Monster Mash than nonstop hear Mariah Carey.
Oh, what? Oh, see, I like that. I love Christmas music.
Again, the only Christmas music that I like is like ye olde carols and like ye olde like that kind of thing.
You just need your heart to grow a couple sizes.
You know what I'm okay, so back in the day, like in England, possibly elsewhere, but definitely in England, the tradition was to tell ghost stories on Halloween. And I wouldn't think we need to bring that back. Now that's a Christmas that I can get behind.
I feel like maybe you would be behind Krampus.
But like, have you ever read The Woman in Black?
No.
Because like the framing device is that it is a scary story being told on Christmas Eve.
That's cool.
So yeah.
I mean, A Christmas Carol has ghosts in it.
Well, that's why. Because like it was traditional to tell scary stories. But a lot of what we think of as like Christmassy and Christmas traditions and how Christmas is like the quintessential Christmas was literally invented by Charles Dickens. Like when he wrote The Christmas Carol, that entered the collective like popular consciousness, and people's idea of what Christmas is became what Dickens said that it was.
That's interesting. Yeah. And yeah, I don't
Also,
know.
Neil Gaiman will be in New York
I
performing The
know
Christmas
you sent me
Carol.
that. That's fun. I was gonna see if I could maybe. I don't know. They haven't posted how much tickets are yet, so we'll see.
Money would be no object for me if I lived in New York.
Well, fly out to New York and.
I said money would be an object if I was already in New York, but
Oh,
money is an object for getting to New York.
okay. Well, fair enough. Dickens ruining things for everyone. Oh no, that's great. Was there anything else we wanted to talk about with the book, or about the series?
Well, this was your favorite book in the series, right?
It was among the most enjoyable.
Well, in terms of like what the ratings that you gave the books, like what did you rate any of them as highly as you rated this one?
That's a good question. Yeah. Let me look on Goodreads because I don't really remember. I kind of think probably. I want to say I gave, yeah, I think I gave The Last Wish the same rating, 4.5 stars.
So you start and end the series on a high point, and the middle is a
Apparently, yeah, because like, oh, Sword of Destiny, I also gave 4.5. Now I'm like, and then we had 4 stars for Blood of Elves, 4 stars for Time of Contempt, 4 stars for Baptism of Fire, uh 4 stars for Tower of Swallows, and 3 stars for Lady of the Lake.
and
So
5 stars for.
it's like a 4.5,
So it's basically your favorite.
basically.
Defend yourself and go.
I wouldn't say it's my favorite. I would say that The Last Wish is probably my favorite, but this I found it to be really fun and entertaining, and I enjoyed seeing the characters, and I don't know, it was just like it was for me, this was like a fun addition of seeing Geralt off on a side quest that doesn't necessarily matter all that much to the main story. This is the kind of thing, it's like when I get, holiday novellas or spin-off novellas of series I like. I enjoy those too because it's like I get to spend some time with characters I like in a world that I like,
This isn't a
doing
novella, though.
something.
This is a full ass book.
What?
This isn't a novella. This is a full ass book.
I mean, yeah, but it's shorter than his novels usually are.
No, it's only shorter than Lady of the Lake. Otherwise, it's like the same length as all the others.
Is it? I mean,
Lady of the Lake is the outlier.
it's like 419 page. I guess so. I guess it just doesn't feel as
Time
hefty.
flies
Maybe
when you're
they
reading
just
your favorite book.
Hmm?
Time flies when you're reading your favorite book.
I guess so. No, but
I
that's
mean, The
what
Last
it
Wish is
that's
shorter than this.
yeah. But that's what it reminded me of. Is it just kind of reminded me of when you get like these added spin-off books
But
where
again, like what
you
you
know?
said, those were like novellas. Like The Last Wish is shorter than this, and it did more. So like for this book to like justify its place in the series and its length, I just feel like it needs to have done more. Like if he wanted to publish like a collection of short stories that is like marketed as like this is just an anthology, bind up stories in the world of The Witcher, just like as
Mhm.
like a fun little side project, is different from like this being like a whole last like another Witcher book that's like, you know what I mean?
I guess so. I don't know. I just didn't mind it because I was having a good time with it. I was not bored. I was having fun. I was getting to hang out with characters I like in a world I like, doing some things that were just entertaining and not very high stakes, which was great.
It was fine.
I don't know that I would, like it as much if I hadn't read the rest of the series though, because I
Well,
think if
again, the
I
Nimue thing where you would really be like,
Oh, well, yeah, for sure.
"What?"
For sure. But even I think if I read it in chronological order, I don't know that I would have enjoyed it as much. I think I probably partly enjoyed it more because Lady of the Lake was not a great experience, and I've read the whole series, so I have the context to have fun. It's well, also because we lost Geralt at the end of that, and so it's like, "Oh, I get to, like, spend some more time with this I don't know. It was nice. It was a
Well,
nice book.
I'm glad you found it nice.
What did you rate this?
3.
Okay.
'Cause I don't think it was bad.
Yeah.
I just feel like it was pretty mid and unimpressive in terms of what I know Andrzej Sapkowski is capable of and what I understand the project of The Witcher to be.
I mean, I think that's fair. I don't know that I would call this impressive. I think my rating was a lot more on enjoyment than, like, being impressed by it.
But my enjoyment was like considerably dampened by
Mm.
the expectations that Andrzej Sapkowski has set for these books.
I also think, though, that you have generally enjoyed the books in the series more than I have. Like, I've liked a lot about them, and I appreciate what he's doing with them, but I feel like you always have seemed to rate most of them higher than I have.
Apparently
Whereas I feel
they
like
were about too much stuff for you. You like it when he strips it down.
yeah, whereas I feel like this honestly was kind of giving me the things that I like the best about the series anyway. Like this kind of condensed a lot of my favorite things about the series.
Yeah, they're sirens.
So I think maybe, expectations are big for this one and what it is that you like about the Witcher series in the first place and what it is that you're wanting to read it for.
Yeah, I think for me, like to like a book that's not doing more,
Mhm.
for lack of a better way of saying it, that's just like, oh, this is just fun. This is just a good time. Like that's I'm trying to think of an example, and of course I can't think of one. Not that there isn't one, but like it has to be like a lot of fun. Like then suddenly the bar for that goes way up. So for me, the fact that like the Witcher characters and everything so far, I'm like, I think they're pretty good characters. I think
Mhm.
they're pretty decent to follow. I think they have decent chemistry and they have decent humor, but they're not like way out there. They're not like Abercrombie characters. They're not like Six of Crows characters. They're not like
Sure.
standout characters. And it's not just like a super like fun plot. It never is those things for me. And I'm like, it's like decent characterization and decent plotting that like is like definitely like more than good enough. But the thing that the Witcher series is doing that makes it like stand out more isn't
Mhm.
that, it's like everything else. It's the fact
Right.
that like these pretty good characters and pretty good stories are doing so much to discuss these wider things in clever ways. And
Mhm.
so then for Season of Storms to be like, what if we just had the like slightly better than average characters and like nothing else? I'm like, well, if you're not offering me anything else, well then your characters need to be so much better for me to like it because that's all you're offering me now.
I also think though that like your bar for what is a good enough character for you to be that
Be
into it is a
Blanca.
lot higher. So, I mean, and I'm, and maybe part of it too is, I like for instance, I read a lot of romance, way more, and I know you like some select romances, but
They are the exception and not the rule.
yeah. But I think that, reading romance in particular is something where I don't like I can enjoy it without it hitting all of the things that I might want from my perfect romance. And so I just I don't know, like there's just different kinds of enjoyment I get from different kinds of books. And so I don't necessarily need everything to be as good as it possibly could be
I
for it
guess
to
to
still be
use, like,
enjoyable.
a restaurant analogy, books for me, they either have to have, like, this one thing on the menu that is just so good that I'm like, "I don't care that the rest of your menu sucks, because this one thing on your menu is worth coming to this restaurant just to order this one thing."
Mhm.
Or a restaurant where, like, nothing on the menu is, like, the most amazing thing I've ever had, but everything on their menu, no matter what I order, is, like, pretty good, and I'm not really mad that I ordered it. So, like, basically, like, I think of the Witcher books as being, like, the second of those 2, is that, like, it didn't do any one thing in a way that was like, "Oh, this is amazing," but it kind of did a bunch of different things in, like, pretty good to great ways, and
Mhm.
altogether, it's like, well, you have, like, a pretty vast, like, selection of things here for me. And Season of Storms is like, what if I only had one thing for you? It's like, well, that one thing, if there's only one thing on your menu, better be a really, really good thing, otherwise I don't know why I came here.
That's so funny. Whereas I think for me, it's like, well, if there's the one thing on your menu that I know I really like and that's what I'm in the mood for, cool. I'm happy to be here.
That's what I'm saying, so, like, that it has to be, like, a really, really, really good thing, as opposed to, like, your
Well, no, but
menu
it
offerings can be, like, okay if they're all, like,
mhm,
pretty good. But
yeah.
if you only have the one thing and all you can say for it is that it's pretty good, then I'm like, "No." Have one great thing or a lot of pretty good things, but if you
Mhm.
just have one pretty good thing, then I'm like, "Well, then your book is only pretty good."
I would say though that this is more than at least for me, it was more than one pretty good thing. It was just it had and it didn't have the things that I don't like about some of the other books. It didn't go off on super boring tangents that are unnecessary.
It depends on what you consider necessary.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I was like, "This is really different, but I'm enjoying it."
It did
Like
go on Nimue tangents, which were unnecessary.
yeah, that's true.
At least the other
But at
tangents
least they were short and not
but
frequent.
at least the other tangents in the other books, even if they did seem kind of like, off course a bit, they all did ultimately serve, like, a narrative purpose that Andrzej Sapkowski, like it may not be, like, what you're, like, wanting to read in that moment, but, like, you
Mhm.
get, like, what he was getting at with it, like, why it was there, like, what his vision was for including that.
Yeah.
Whereas with Nimue here, I'm just like, "Why, though? Why was my time wasted with that?"
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Oh, thank you, Stephanie, for the super chat tip jar for Leanna having to endure all the Christmas talk.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I don't know. I think, I that's sorry, d sidelined my train of thought, but
As it should.
mm. I thought it was oh, I know what I was gonna say because you were saying you see what he's doing. I think that's true, and I think for something like this where we're doing a read along and we're discussing it on live streams, it's interesting because it's something to talk about. But in terms of reading experience, it was not great.
Well, again, I think it depends. I mean, like, well, this is also like Bethany. You don't make any sense. I'm sorry. Um, we need to reset you back to factory settings so that we can fix this glitch. Um, so you like cozy things that like are kind of pointless and have no plot, but you don't like The Mandalorian. And then Andrzej Sapkowski is like doing like, well, I don't know if this is like a super like fun read, but I'm doing like intellectual academic discussion
Yeah.
things that like thought provoking. And you're like, no, I hate that, but Dune 5 stars.
You know, it's probably because what I like when I'm reading Witcher is not that. And so I'm like, wait, why are we doing this? I want the things that are fun in this. Whereas Dune is all that.
There were some
So
moments that could have been fun in Dune.
that's what I'm there for. Like Witcher, that's not what I'm here for. Like I'm going to like here I'm here for like, Yen and Geralt and Ciri and Dandelion and like hijinks. Whereas Dune, like you have to be there for the politics and philosophy. Otherwise, why are you there? It's just,
I would say the same about The Witcher. It's about like politics and philosophy.
I mean, it does have a lot of it. It's just I always feel like sometime there were moments where I'm like, "Oh my god, okay, I see what you're doing, but can we just get back to Geralt again now, please? You know, this is more fun."
Like I said, you don't make any sense.
And clearly, I'm not the only one because I mean, and maybe we could say that Season of Storms is very fan servicey because it was probably written for all the people who were like, give us more of Geralt and stop going off on your random tangents.
Maybe, but I mean, I don't know the man very well, but I just
I,
get this feeling that Andrzej Sapkowski would not do that. Like, whatever his reasons are for writing this, it's not because like, well, the fans just want more Geralt, so I guess I'll write them some Geralt story. Like that just is not Sapkowski's vibe.
I feel like I have never seen an interview with him, so I have no idea what his vibe is. I don't
I
know
mean, he's
enough.
mad that people like the video games and don't know about the books. So I don't see him being like, well, here's just a fun novel about Geralt going on some adventures. You're welcome. Like, no.
I mean, who knows? Well, it's been fun. I mean, I did enjoy them. I would read them again probably. I
I think it's more likely, honestly, that when he was writing Last Wish and The Sword of Destiny, there was some things left on the cutting room floor, and he just kind of like fleshed those out, and then
I could see
Bob's
that.
your
I
uncle,
mean,
season of
because
storms.
honestly, this does read like the kind of thing that could have been
Which it
another.
does seem much more his vibe if the publishers were like, you have to publish another Witcher book because that's what the people want. And he
Mhm.
looked at his like the dregs on the floor and was like, I'll dust these off for you. Here you go, another Witcher book.
That tracks.
That's what you like, Bethany. You like his leavings. I hope this is true now. My headcanon for how Season of Storms was written.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, I think that that could definitely be something that he just like went and developed. I could see that being the case. It does because it does read like something that could have just been a side thing or a short story
Especially
in
because
one
of
of
like
those
where it
books.
takes place. Again, like
Yeah. Yeah.
like these weren't good enough to make it into The Last Wish and weren't ultimately serving the grander plot. So he was like,
Mhm.
well, I don't need to include these. And then they're like, more. And he's like, well, I have these.
And then we'll just like throw Nimue in there to tie it all together.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if that's the case. I am really curious since he's supposedly writing another Witcher book, what he's going to do for that because it's been a while since this came out in
I would
Poland.
hope that it's because like he's kind of like with Joe Abercrombie, where he felt really burned out writing Red Country, and then he went off and he wrote other things that were non-First Law related, and
Mhm.
then he was like felt like the itch to come back to First Law and like gave us the brilliance of the of Age of Madness. So
Yeah.
I hope it's that Andrzej Sapkowski's been away from Witcher long enough and has done other things that if he was like burned out on Witcher and wanted to do other things, other ideas he had in mind, and he did those, and
Mhm.
is now feeling like he has like ideas again that are like Witcher related and he feels called to like come back to that world. I hope that's why.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I hope so too. I It's been quite a while, so it seems possible if he's just all of a sudden wanting to write another one. So I guess we'll see if it comes out. You got these lovely new covers. I wonder if they'll match them. Probably. So, oh, you know what? I totally forgot at the beginning to include at the beginning of the podcast that we do have bonus content for channel members and patrons that we're going to be recording after this. So that'll be available in the next few days. If you want to toss a coin to your podcasters, you can always join us over there. And we're going to be talking about prequels of various kinds.
We're cutting room floor dregs, as they are
Or
better
cutting
known.
room floor drags, whatever the case may be. Um, but first, we do have on my radar talking about recent or upcoming book releases. And do you have anything, Leanna? I don't know. And thank you to all of our patrons. Of course, we do appreciate you, including Stephanie, who is here, our world expanding patron. You make what we do possible. We appreciate you. Yeah, do you have anything? No. Okay. I have a couple, well, a few things that are coming out or have recently come out.
Are they
So
Christmas books?
no,
Okay, I'll allow it.
they're not. There is a cozy fantasy in here though, but it's middle grade, so you can't be too mad at it.
Oh, yes, I can.
Okay, well, I really liked it. Anyway, but that book was Just a Pinch of Magic by Alicia Dow, which is a middle grade book fantasy book with baking magic in a small town. It's really cute and kind of spooky, and I loved it. So I do recommend that. Also, I've not read this yet, but I need to, but The Djinbot of Shantyport by Samit Basu, which is supposed to be a sci-fi adventure with heart that reads like a mashup of Aladdin and Murderbot, which sounds interesting. So I want to read that. Starling House by Alexi Harrow is also one that I thought was really good. It's a gothic I don't know, light horror with a romantic subplot, and there's a house that's maybe haunted and kind of sentient, set in middle America. It was good. And then lastly, The Reformatory by Tananarive Due, which I haven't read yet, but I want to. This is her latest horror novel that is based on the real history of a boys' reform school in the Jim Crow era South, but make it supernatural. So adding some paranormal stuff to some real life horrific things. But her writing is fantastic, so I'm excited for that. So those are some recent releases that have been on my radar. I'm going to be back November 14th with Izzy, where we're going to be talking about the Bright Falls series by Ashley Herring Blake. So this includes Delilah Green Doesn't Care, Astrid Parker Doesn't Fail, and Iris Kelly Doesn't Date. So those should be fun. And I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, I guess that's kind of it. And then me and Leanna will be back to talk about season 3 of the Witcher show on Netflix in late November. She has to watch it first before we can talk about it. So, and I didn't even like it very
Thought I
much.
was done with bad TV for the year, but oh
Sorry.
no.
Sorry. At least you don't have to make full videos about it. You can just watch it.
No, I don't have to do that again for at least a year.
Yeah. I mean, and like I liked the first 2 seasons pretty well, so it's like if I didn't like this season very much, you're really not going to probably like it.
Maybe I can talk my brother into watching it, even though he hasn't watched the first 2 seasons.
He could catch up.
He definitely does not want to do that.
Well, good luck. So we'll be back doing that as well. Again, this has been Chapter 3 Podcast. We're your hosts, Bethany and Leanna. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Chapter 3 Podcast, and you can always find us on our individual YouTube channels. Join us November 14th for the next episode, and this episode's bonus content will be available for patrons and channel members in the next few days. Thanks for listening.